Hey, it's MJ from the Coaches Panel. I hope you're well. Tom Doedee has moved from the Adelaide Crows. He is now, via free agency, a Brisbane Lion. But is he fantasy relevant for us in 2024 and beyond? We will answer that question for you, as well as look at what it means for the Brisbane Lions and for the Adelaide Crows. Maybe there's some goodness that will come for us for SuperCoach and AFL fantasy players. Let's talk about the Brisbane Lions. I really love this move for the club. Anytime you can bring in a really nice, serviceable player and do it when it only costs you salary rather than any trade or draft capital, that's always a really good sign. Tom's a real solid citizen. I love his ability to play small and tall. He can also intercept well. Now, the Lions aren't short on an interceptor. They've got one of the best in Harris Andrews. So I don't see Tom getting freed up for that. They've got some nice running and rebounding defenders. McKenna, Wilmot when he moves back off the wing, and then a guy that really emerged for us during the final series in Kitty Coleman. And Brandon Starcevich is a really nice lockdown small defender. So I can really see Tom Doedee, when he does get back from his ACL, yep, we'll talk about that in a moment, I can see him moving into probably a role similar to what Ryan Lester has kind of held. While we'll know they'll always try to have a couple of key positions, Payne and Gardner have held down them in various times during the 2023 season alongside Andrews. I can see Tom Doedee sliding in nicely once he does return from his ACL. So I think that's a really nice move for the Brisbane Lions. And from a character and a leadership perspective, he is first class. He is incredible. And had the Crows not landed Jordan Dawson in a trade not too long ago, then chances are he was going to be the current Adelaide Crows captain. So he's rated very, very highly inside the walls of West Lakes. And I think Brisbane are going to love his leadership and his ability to just generate great team culture and what is already one of the best teams running around in the AFL. From an Adelaide Crows perspective, how are they going to go about covering him? Well, they've kind of had to do it already for half of the season of 2023. They knew they were going to do it in 2024, and they've got a really interesting young defensive group. When Mitch Hinge is your oldest defender outside of Brodie Smith, who's kind of been moved more to the wing of late, it's a really young group. Butts and Murray, I think they're really confident, hold down the talls. Michael Laney, their most recent draftee from the end of the 2022 season, is a star in the making. He's a great young kid. He's really versatile. And they've got Hinge, who again is another versatile defender. Josh Worrell was the one, though, that stood in the gap in the back half of 2023 and I thought did a really nice job. Really good negating defender, Josh Worrell. Really nice left boot. From a fantasy perspective and from a general team perspective, I don't think there's going to be anybody that pops significantly for this from the Crows. Mitch Hinge did have some benefits. If you go and run the data of Hinge with and without Doedee, there's some upside there, but part of that's also about the opponents that he was playing on at the time. But I like Mitch Hinge. I think that's some nice value late on draft day. He's one of those unpopular names that people overlook, but I think he's got some relevance. So if anybody's getting any love out of it, it's draft only, and it's probably for Mitch Hinge. Let's talk about Tom Doedee, though, and what it means for his 2024 season, and is he fantasy relevant? Well, politely no. And that's partially because he's undergoing his second recovery from an ACL. Unfortunately, he's not going to be back anytime before mid in 2024. Now, there is a chance that Brisbane take a conservative approach with him. They've already got a side that was one straight kick away from winning a premiership, so they're not too far away. They might choose to take the conservative approach and then just go, you know what, we want Tom right for 2025. If that's the case, in SuperCoach especially, I've got some medium-term interest, because then on an already discounted price, he'll get a further discount. And historically, Tom's already got 3 seasons where he's shown he can go 80 plus. He's got a couple of 70 averages in his AFL Fantasy and Dream Team, but SuperCoach, because of his intercepting, is probably the format, if anywhere, you're happy to go and own Tom Doedee. So if he misses all 2024, then my interest bubbles up a little bit in SuperCoach, but that's probably it. He does have the ability to deliver tons. He's done that across the formats. While they've been very sporadic, he does, at times when the matchups are right, show he's got some scoring. So depending on the matchups in your draft or maybe daily fantasy, he could be a nice plug and play option depending on who's there. But in terms of, are you touching him in Classic? No, you're just not. He's not going to be right till the middle part of 2024 at best. So no, you don't want Tom Doedee in your side, regardless of what he might do at the Brisbane Lions. He's a really great player. He's a really fantastic human being. But for AFL Fantasy and for SuperCoach, you don't want him in Classic. I think in draft, in SuperCoach, there's some late value. But unless you've got a really deep bench and you can afford to stash him for half of the year, then he's probably someone you can go and grab off the player pool. But let's see how he goes. We know he took a little bit of time last time recovering off his ACL before the scoring started to return. It wouldn't surprise me to see if there was something similar. So that's my take on Tom Doedee. Is he fantasy relevant? No, not really. Is he a great addition for Brisbane? Yes. Will the Crows miss him? I think they'll miss some of his leadership, but in terms of on-field, they're already well and truly on their way to covering him. If you're loving this video, make sure you check out all the other videos of all the other players that have moved clubs during the trade and free agency period. I'm reviewing every single one of them here for you on YouTube. Over at Spotify and Apple Podcasts, you can also go check out the podcast at the end of the trade period with myself and several other members of the coaches panel. We'll give you a bit more in-depth take on who are the big winners and the players we should be taking a serious look at for SuperCoach and AFL Fantasy next year. And if you do love what you get from the coaches panel, whether it be the articles, the videos, the podcasts, social media, everything, then become a Patreon for just a few dollars a month. It helps support us, and there's some bonus content for you in it as well. Just click on the bio description link, whatever you want to call it. It is there, and we will help you find it all. We hope you've enjoyed this video. There's another one for you just there for you to go and check out. Until you check on the next video, which should happen now, can't wait to chat to you then.